Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Cioffi with FiOS 1 News Long Island and New Jersey, and our Joe Rayos with FiOS 1 News Lower Hudson Valley. Joe will be here in a moment. He's taking care of some breaking weather, as I'm going to be doing here, and then he'll pop in. We'll hear him come through the door momentarily. So if you were on our live stream earlier tonight, as many of you were, we talked about the fact that the first line of thunderstorms that came through in the afternoon may have zapped out the energy out of the atmosphere, but apparently there was enough instability left that now that the cold front is approaching, we are seeing some rather active weather that has developed this evening. So I'm going to bring up the radar and a few other things, and we'll get started. So just give me 1 second here. All right, so I have pulled the, now this is the Weather Service office from State College, Pennsylvania. We actually have two tornado warnings underway. One in Southwest PA in Johnstown. That's inside a severe thunderstorm watch. There is another one that's east of Williamsport along with a severe thunderstorm warning. It's actually southwest of Scranton. Now I've jumped over to the Binghamton Weather Service, where we have a working tornado warning, the one that's just southwest of Scranton, and the other one in central Sullivan County, not too far from Monticello. And the warning was issued at 9:25. Actually, this is a follow-up to it. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. So a tornado has not been verified that it touched ground. The radar indicates that there's rotation, so they have put out a preemptive tornado warning. Let's get the radar up here, and you'll see what's going on. And Mr. Rayo has just walked in the room. I figured I just started about a minute or so ago.
Lovely.
So this is the radar, Joe, out of Binghamton. So there are actually three working tornado warnings that you can see here. The one that's in Monticello. There's another one that pops up just southwest of Scranton. And then there's a third one on the far lower left, and that's out near Johnstown. But we were talking about this evening, you and I, about whether this line was going to fire up or not fire up. And then around, what was it, about a little after 6 o'clock, we started seeing some cells blossom out in parts of western Pennsylvania. And it seems to be playing out to form here, moving to the southeast.
Yeah, and this moving very quickly, too. They won the thunderstorm cell with rotation that caused the Binghamton National Weather Service to issue that tornado warning is moving southeast at 45 miles per hour.
That's fast.
It's going pretty darn quick. So between now and midnight, I think any thunderstorm that happens to affect the lower Hudson Valley or areas in northern New Jersey is possibly going to bring with it a brief burst of gusty winds, heavy rain. I even saw on the Binghamton statement the possibility of quarter-sized hail. That's pretty large. That's large.
We've got some working thunderstorm warnings up, severe thunderstorm warnings up in the Albany Cobleskill area toward near Oneonta. So I can jump up to that particular radar. Well, here's the Upton radar. So let's go up. Let's just jump up one to Albany, and then we'll come back down to Upton. So you can see an east-west line there that is moving southeastward. This is all the cold front really that's in play.
Right.
That is carrying all of this. That lead line that developed late this afternoon was one that weather models had a horrible time with, because it was all there on the radar this morning, and none of the small-scale, super short-range models showed very little or nothing from that.
The 3-kilometer NAM, the HRRR model, usually very reliable in short term. And before I left, my wife was taking my daughter to JFK Airport. She said, "So when is the worst of it going to be?" And I said, anytime between 4:30 to 7:30, I thought. And I thought at that time we were just going to get a singular line. Well, we did get a line. It moved a lot quicker, ahead of schedule. But still, with that cold front not yet quite through yet, a second line, or not even a line, but a broken cluster of
Right.
locally strong storms. And one of those storms, again, is the one that caused Binghamton to issue that tornado warning.
That, by the way, that warning's getting whittled away. The cell itself, from what I can see on the radar, Joe, looks like it's actually starting to weaken a little bit as it moves southeastward.
Right.
I'm just wondering how much is going to be left. There is there's a south wind now that is developed near the coast and over Long Island and into southern New England. I wonder if there is a little bit of a cooling, stabilizing, shallow marine layer. Not that any of it is producing fog or anything like that, but just the fact that you've got some marine air coming in near the coast. I'm wondering whether these cells are going to just basically weaken out as they move southeast.
If they could talk, these very strong cells that we're seeing now as they approach the immediate New York City area, you could probably say something like, "I'm weakening, I'm dying,
Right, I'm melting."
I'm melting.
Well, here's the view now from Philadelphia, from Mount Holly's radar, Fort Dix, and which is now back. It was down for quite a while, but it has been back now for the last several days. And you can see the cells in Pennsylvania. They're pretty hefty. And then that one cell that comes out of Scranton, now moving into Sussex County, looks like it's weakening. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of marine layer, some cooler air. I'm going to pull the OBS up and see if we can get a clue on this.
And it's interesting also is that we were never, the tri-state area, the New York City area, Long Island, and Hudson Valley, northern New Jersey, we were never under a thunderstorm watch or any kind of advisory for severe weather. However, down toward Delaware and Maryland, they had multiple watches up that overlapped each other up until 8 o'clock this evening. So it looked like the worst of the first line was actually to the south.
Oh, yeah, they had a tornado warning up in Baltimore. Robert Brown is one of my regulars here on YouTube and also on my Patreon platform. Posted some messages there about all the thunderstorms that he had to deal with down in his neck of the woods in Maryland. A number of severe thunderstorm warnings that went up for Washington, D.C. and for Baltimore. The southern part of that line was far more impressive. Now, this is from SPC. I put up the surface obs so we could actually get a feel for this. You've got southerly isobars, Joe, being analyzed right along the coast and over Long Island, and even into the those inland stations have some light southerly wind. So it could be. I think it's a good bet that those cells are not going to hold up for much longer as they move to the southeast. It's nothing. It's not. It's in a lot of ways that line we saw this afternoon looks more impressive than this one. Right? This is more of how do they put it? More the discrete thunderstorms. I don't know why they came up with the word discrete, but they're a bit more isolated. You got these much smaller clusters versus that linear look that we had late today. But this is the cold front, and behind it is the drier air that is going to be taking over. And Friday is shaping up to be a nice day, like 2 days ago, with that gusty wind and a good deal of sunshine.
Yeah, I could see winds tomorrow, as we saw on Tuesday, out of the northwest, gusting to 30 or even 30. Well, we hit 30 to 35 on Tuesday.
Yes, we did.
And there's absolutely no reason, at least from what I could see here, that we could do that or match that on Friday.
All right, let me bring up WPC's. We'll bring up the map, the surface map, and take a look at what's going on. This is still back at 5 o'clock this afternoon. You can see, folks.
The other thing was that the warm front was just, adjacent to or moving to the north and east out of our area.
Yes, here it was cut Long Island in half, basically.
Right.
And the cold front at 5 o'clock was still back near Lake Erie and in northern Ohio, and that's right in that zone there from northeast Ohio through northwestern Pennsylvania. That's where we started to see these cells that popped up late in the afternoon.
Would there be a reason to draw? Well, actually, there is. I just got a closer look at it. There, a trough right there.
Yeah, there is a trough. Yeah. This, I think, is what set off those thunderstorms that ran out ahead.
Right.
In my view.
Right.
And then the front, the front follows, and of course, another another round of severe weather going on in the southern plains for the umpteenth
please.
time. I counted 205 tornadoes since the 17th. So in the last
Crazy.
the last 7 days.
Crazy.
And that's and to think that there have been outbreaks where we've had that many tornadoes in a 48-hour period or even a 24-hour period.
And I don't want to be political now. I don't want somebody to come running at me and saying I'm making a political statement here. But what we've been hearing about in the news over the last couple of days about the politicos in the Washington area, arguing about an infrastructure bill allocating millions, if not trillions of dollars. Well, folks, where we're sitting, we're in a good place right now. But for these poor people who live in northern Texas, in Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, that have just been battered like a piñata from all of these tornadoes and all of this heavy rain and everything else, there's need now to build up, to get money for an infrastructure bill. You talk about that.
Well, Jefferson City, Missouri, got hit with a powerful tornado last night. They had what they described in Missouri, the capital city, what they described as catastrophic damage.
Right.
As I was reading through some of the details of this.
That's where that money would go to help bring these communities back. So, I'm sure, and it must be frustrating for these people who live in that part of the country to see what's going on in Washington about the arguments going on. Saying, please just give us something. Help
the
us.
severe weather here has been just so unrelenting. I mean, it's been like this for quite a while now.
It's crazy.
And there's still more to go when we look at going through the weekend and into next week. Our weather looks tame. We've been playing on the idea that the weekend is going to be fine for the most part. I didn't see any reason today to vary from that. But I just want to bring up that Saturday night with some thunderstorms, we do have not over us yet, but the Storm Prediction Center actually does have marginal risk into east central PA and a slight risk in northwest PA back through Ohio and in through northeastern Indiana. This is with a weather front that's coming through Saturday night, and there's another one for Sunday night with another front coming through. But my general feeling is that if we're going to see any rain, it'll be during the overnight periods on both days. Maybe on Sunday there could be a late storm.
When I'm thinking, I agree. The Sunday event, possibly some showers and scattered thunderstorms Saturday night, spilling over into Sunday morning. Then they go away. It's going to be rather humid here. This might be one of the more humid days we've seen over the past week or two on Sunday, and there might be just enough moisture and instability to pop a couple of thunderstorms late in the day on Sunday. So it may not necessarily be worthwhile to put a timing specifically. Most of Sunday should be dry, but early in the day and again maybe late in the day, we might see some shower and thunderstorm activity. Then that goes away, and that leads us into a nice day on Monday.
All right, hang on one second here. I'm trying to bring us back full screen. There we go. Okay, so let's just jump on the board here and say hi to everybody, see if there's any questions. Javon Perry, always looking for thunderstorms, is Javon Perry. And seeing any questions you guys have really fast, because we're going to be running out of time soon. Oh, here's Izzy wants to know, do both of us think Lakewood will see any thunderstorms out of this? If Izzy, you're talking about the one tonight. I kind of think they're going to probably weaken as they move east.
Right.
They're showing that on the radar as they come out of Pennsylvania. They look like they've passed their peak intensity.
Right.
So I'm thinking they'll probably die
these storms, out. There was nothing, let's say at 4 or 5 o'clock. There was a few hours, though, left of sunshine. They're diurnally driven. In other words, they built up, they started developing in the heat of the late afternoon sun. We're now past sunset and now running into that southerly cool airflow. So I think in Lakewood, I think you're going to be pretty safe. If you do get anything, it may be more just like a passing shower, not what they're seeing up in Sullivan County, for example, or saw in Sullivan County.
Yeah, those that are on my weather platform on Patreon, we've been doing a lot of stuff with the thunderstorm activity. And Javon Perry, you're going to be joining up soon. That's good to hear. I know there's a lot of the guys that are on here on the regular chat are part of that platform. Ryan Ford says it looks like the cell in northwest New Jersey is strengthening again. All right, that's, we're going to be. I'm going to switch back to the radar here. Let's do that. Let's bring up the latest radar. Also, want to welcome those of you who are watching from my weather app, because I did send out a notification that we were going live. So for those of you who are watching from my weather app, welcome aboard. We'll bring up the Upton radar. Well, the cell that looks like that what's into Sussex County, it looks like it was part of it was stronger near Scranton, then it got weaker down. Yeah, there's a slight little flare up there as it moves across the border into New Jersey. The Sullivan County, it's hard to see. All right, let me bring the window up, Joe. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let everybody see here. Here's the Sullivan County. You see the red box tornado warning. Kind of looks like the cell split in two because there's one red little dot there that has now moved outside of it and heading, I guess, maybe toward Middletown or a little bit to the north of Middletown, moving to the southeast.
I'm going to call up the. I went into my graphics here, and so you'll be able to see that on if you're watching us. But I just wanted maybe a large and more close-in view as to what's going on. Come on.
Yeah, you can at least see maybe with the lightning, we're getting lightning strikes out of this.
No, it doesn't seem like it, I don't see.
Yeah, it looks like, that cell looks like it's already run northeast of Middletown. My last radar frame here is from 9:40, so it's only 6 minutes old.
Right.
And the cells that are now into northwest New Jersey, I mean, they look okay, but they don't look crazy strong.
Right. Right.
And see if you widen out so we can look to see what's a little bit further southwest. And I'm going to switch on this one. I'll go to the Mount Holly shot.
Well, there's a lightning bolt right there.
Not a whole lot of lightning strikes with this. Let's go back to Mount Holly's shot. That's Mount Holly on my shot here. It looks like they just threw up a new severe thunderstorm warning somewhere between Scranton and Allentown. I don't know what county that is.
I know Pike County was under a tornado warning along with...
well, that was that one that was, I guess... Okay, so that's now done. And they still have that one up from Monticello, though. Let's just punch up real quick to see if... I'm going to punch up to see if there's a... sometimes they do send out the weather statement. And they've been updating the...
Again, this was Binghamton that issued that tornado warning.
Right. And so let's see what they have to say on this. They've got nothing in here, so usually when they take it out, the statement out of the watches and warnings box, it usually means that the warning's going to come down. And indeed, the warning is now gone.
Right.
All right, so we have one working, that severe thunderstorm warning that's back in PA. Wrong one. That's State College, Upton. All right, so it looks like it's gone quiet again. All right, so that's a good thing. Because you and I want to wrap up our night and go home. Okay, so we've decided that we're going to have a nice weekend. Really fast, because it was brought up. The Hurricane Center came out with their forecast today.
Right. It was, and they came up with a normal or typical.
They took a stand.
Right. I think they probably said to themselves, "Well, yeah, there's an El Nino, but
it's weak.
Just in case, yeah, it's a weak one.
It's weak.
So just in case, why don't we just say?"
Well, they've already had the first name out of the way, so they just have to get the normals. When you and I started out, were 10 tropical storms. And 6 that would become 5 or 6 that would become hurricanes. But the thing is, and I think you'll support me on this, when we went through the 70s and into the 80s, and of course they've gone back and added back in storms that at the time they didn't name and were tropical systems.
Right.
So it's a little bit deceiving when you look at the numbers with respect to the normals back in the 70s and in the 80s, because it looks as if there have been, if you look at the numbers, the storm activity has been higher in the last number of years compared to the period in the 70s. But again, there were a lot of storms that tropical storms that didn't get they in post review they made them. So you got to be a little careful with those normal numbers. Now, what is it now? They got 12 or 13 tropical storms and
we had
7 or 8 hurricanes.
We had satellite views of there was one year that when we had more storms than names. We had to go through.
That was in 2005.
2005.
Right.
They had one storm that was off the coast of Spain, I think, or Portugal.
Vincent, I believe it was. Yes.
Crazy. I think, in fact, I remember it says, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, if it looks like a hurricane or a tropical system, let's call it a hurricane or a tropical system.
Well, then we had Ophelia a couple of years ago. Now it'll be 2 years that went into Ireland and England,
right,
and came up from the south, and it was a Category 3, and that was the first time they observed a Category 3 hurricane in that position in the Atlantic so far to the east.
That I'm making, or the point that we're making, is that back in the pre-satellite era.
Oh yeah, there were how many storms that they could have been out there that they didn't even know about.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. So that's why you got to be really. You have to really be careful when you hear these things getting thrown out by people that have
We've never seen this
agendas and all this other.
But you can't deal with that. Before 1950, you have to put a big asterisk, like next to Roger Maris's 61 home runs. We just didn't know. Well, how many, as you just said, how many?
Before the satellite era goes back to what? The 60.
Well, 62 or 63 was the first time we got satellite pictures.
Right. So before the satellite era, there were who knows how many. And look at what happened last year. Remember, I forgot which storm it was. I think it was the C storm, the B or the C storm last year that formed in the Caribbean that they made. That formed in the tropical Atlantic in June. I got to go back and look it up. But it was so small. It was basically 20 miles wide. It was a glorified severe thunderstorm is what it was. How many of those over the decades have occurred that weren't made tropical systems? Who knows? All right, well, we've got that out of the way. Weekend's coming up. We've settled that. No changes in the forecast. So you and I will be back tomorrow night. We'll do our Joe and Joe show.
Well, if we feel like it.
If we feel like it. Usually, what happens, folks? What happens usually by the time we get to Friday, he and I are just so exhausted from the week that we look at each other, or I usually look at him and say, "I'm not feeling it tonight," and you never argue with me.
I never argue with you. You're the king of all media next to Howard Stern. So.
Oh God.
Or social media.
The decimal point on his check is a couple of spaces. Many more spaces.
Now there's somebody we should ask to Skype and be a guest on our show.
Howard Stern?
Howard Stern.
Do you know him?
No. But
I'm not going to ask him. You ask him.
But can you imagine how many people would tune in if they heard that Howard Stern was going to be
a guest? So there's a method behind your madness.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, good. I can understand that. I get it.
You imagine that Howard Stern's going to appear on our. No, he's not. It's not happening. It's not happening.
Not happening. All right. So
if any of you know Howard Stern and would like to tell him that we'd be interested in having him on a show,
by all means.
By all means.
Okay. So you and I will be back tomorrow. I'll be tomorrow night 6:00 live stream with my regular YouTube show, the Joe Cioffi Show. Then we got the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Figure 9:20, 9:25. If we are in the mood to do it.
All right.
Okay? All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.